Welcome to the Under the Microscope, the video edition. Is this our sixth one, Brandon, or seventh? We've done a bunch of these
I think
now.
it's six because
Is
we
it
missed
six?
week one, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, right. You're right. You're right. So this will be our sixth installment. This one, I think we're both pretty pumped about. I think this poll was overwhelming, right? I think the Dolphins fans were out in full support to see their offensive line and to see the kind of work they've been doing, and with good reason because they just rushed for over 200 yards for the second straight game, and the only two games they've had with all five of their preferable offensive linemen in there. So this unit really looks formidable moving forward, and they've been able to open up some big holes for Jay Ajayi, who has run extremely well also.
Yeah, I mean, with them, their offensive line was kind of an afterthought, and I think the biggest reason for that was probably injury, just because like you said, I mean, they haven't had a starting offensive line, at least the one they won all season. And then as soon as they do, things kind of take off. It's kind of a perfect storm with the Jai and then them together, and for them to mesh and mold, just come together as well as they have, as quickly as they have, is really pretty special. And I think it kind of stems from Mike Pouncey in the middle. I mean, he is in this game. I think kind of showed me that he still is an elite center in the league. He could be on a top five list without question. I wouldn't really argue with it. I mean, he's not only is he super athletic, but he's very nuanced and technically sound, and he's pretty special. So to have him in the middle of next to somebody like Tunsil, I think helps him pretty dramatically. To surround Tunsil with two veterans like that, him and Albert, it's smart. Because I think we both probably agree Tunsil's a little out of position, but he's definitely adjusting well, and we'll see it this game. Pouncey and Tunsil really played well.
Absolutely. And before we even start here, is there anything? And I know I'm springing this on you kind of last second. So if I'm just barking up a tree that has no business being explored, let me know. But Tunsil right here, his stance. What can you tell us about that, and why is it a little bit off kilter to what we're used to seeing? Even if you look across at Bushrod at right guard, more of a square stance. What's up with Tunsil's stance here?
Yeah, I mean, when I just look at it right now, it's definitely I tried. Stances are tricky because some guys, you got to watch them play really, to see
Right.
if they can be functional in it. Because you watch somebody we've done like Bakhtiari or Joe Thomas even, and their stances are just, you look at it, and if you don't know who it is, you're like, what the heck is this? And then you
Right.
watch them play. So, but there is sort of, rules of a stance that put you in the best position to win, and it's really stemmed in geometry and taking the right angles and aligning your body in the right way, and your hips are a huge part of that. So you want to keep them square as much as you can. You want that back foot at a 45-degree angle. And it just allows you to fight pressure with pressure most efficiently through all the angles of offensive line play. And, so that's kind of a general, synopsis of a stance. So when you look at him, I mean, you see that back foot's it's in a pretty good position, but it is a little narrow, and you could see his hips, flexed a little bit to the left. So, it's kind of an awkward stance in a way, but he's so athletic, and it's just kind of it just works for him.
Right.
He had this same stance at Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a little kind of awkward, but he makes it work for him, and um,
It
you
almost
know,
looks like he's about to pull to the left here, and he's cheating it.
right. Something's a little off kilter there with his biomechanics, probably. I mean, but if it doesn't affect him, then it
It's like
is what
Philip
it is.
Rivers' throwing motion, right? Sometimes you learn to live with those things.
Exactly. I mean, it's definitely not ideal, but he's a good player, and but in this at the same time, little things like this, if you can, if you can get it with somebody like LaCharles Bentley or something,
Hmm.
they could just tweak it just a tad.
Right.
it could be the difference in very good to elite. I mean, so as of right now, as a rookie and everything, and just kind of this stage of his career, I don't think it's hindering him too much. But I think maybe, potentially if he ever wants to, achieve his full potential athletically, just inches, and small things like this are really the difference in good and great players. So
That's really
maybe, yeah, maybe later down the line he could adjust it a little bit. But so this game, I mean, and really Miami in general, their offensive line they're a heavy zone blocking scheme, both inside and outside zone. But they do mix it up a little bit, and you can see here on the screen. I mean, they're going to run one back power here, and they're going to actually incorporate a crack block from the receiver on the right hand side. So, and this is executed really well. So let's check it out, and we'll break it down. Really nice job of Tunsil right here to maneuver on the pull and just to kind of control himself, control his speed, remain balanced, and then Ajayi just to kind of follow him patiently through the hole. And then Bushrod seals, and Jarvis Landry, man, he's so much fun to watch.
Yeah, I think Jarvis Landry probably, after watching some of this game, is one of the best, if not the best, blocking receiver in the NFL. I mean, you certainly got guys like Fitz and Quan Bolden, but Jarvis has got to be up there. I mean, he's incredible. And the thing about Jarvis is, too, in all phases, like at the line of scrimmage, when you're asking him to stock block, if you're asking him to crack, he takes great angles, and he delivers punishment and finishes the job in downfield. If you ask him to get downfield, I mean, at one point, I think it was in this game, Ajayi's, somebody was off to the races, and he's downfield. Some guy jumped on Ajayi's back. He's literally trying to pull him off Ajayi so he can finish the run and get to. I mean, he's just a full tilt, all effort player all the time, and you see that here. I mean, that's about as good as it gets if you're asking a receiver to crack. I mean, so many times that receiver comes in soft or has to readjust their angle or hits a guy in the back or doesn't get a good blow. I mean, consistently with Jarvis, and actually, I think this might be early in the game. I think he ends up knocking Aaron Williams out in this game on a crack block. Or he maybe got a little overzealous, but I had a Vine of it that was blowing up because everybody was like, oh, that's a dirty hit. Or, I don't know. He's just a physical football player. I love his mentality.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, you being a Steelers fan, I mean, you can appreciate this. It's like Hines Ward type stuff. I mean,
exactly.
It's amazing. I love it as well. And he does remind me a lot of Anquan and kind of that Hines Ward mold, and he's just a pleasure to watch. But this is just a nice job of Tunsil, man. I mean, right here to kind of gain his balance by using his teammate. He's just very controlled and precise here, and he's patient. And it's a great block. I mean, you don't have to knock a guy on his butt on a pull to be an effective block. You just got to fit and give the running back something to break off of, and that's exactly what happens. And everybody else, does a nice job, especially the right guard. Or right tackle, James. Nice seal block and power, for a really nice gain. This is the first play of the game.
And I love how Ajayi, it's just a subtle thing, and it doesn't really matter because all the unblocked defenders kind of converge at that point. But I love how he kind of rides right on Tunsil's back and is as close to him as he can be. So it makes it so much tougher for the defenders to know which way he's cutting. So he's just going to ride that block as long as he can, and then maybe he manipulates the defenders out of position. Here the Bills defend. I think they have three guys kind of closing on him from all angles. But say there were one or two defenders at that level. Lorenzo Alexander does a great job in pursuit here. But say there are one or two defenders, that's just good to be able, as a back, you want to probably press that block as long as you can and then cut off of it, because it makes it so much more difficult for defenders to know what kind of angle you're taking. What the safety coming up there may think, oh, he's cutting outside. He's cutting, and he may cheat it outside. And then as soon as he does and he over pursues that way, then you cut back inside off of it. So just make them make the first mistake basically there. It's just kind of some smart and heady running there by Ajayi for him to kind of hug that as long as he can.
Right. Yeah, that was nice. He was kind of playing a game there with I don't know if that's safety or corner right here.
Right.
They're kind of like, it's a kind of a drawdown, and it's nice that he kind of breaks inside. If that safety, if he, I mean, he kind of manipulates that guy pretty well. But that might be Darby, but
Right. I think it is Darby.
yeah, it was a good piece of running. All right, so we're gonna go to the I think it's 2 plays after the one we just watched, and now they're gonna kind of go to their bread and butter, the outside zone, and right here they're in a heavy left formation. James is at left tackle, who is normally a right tackle, and then Albert's outside of him. So let's watch this. So yeah, I picked this clip because I really wanted to pay attention to Pouncey here. I wanted people to see this type of play recognition, this type of awareness. He's working down the line of scrimmage, and right here, he needs to turn around and seal the alley basically, and really execute a backside cutoff. And I mean, it happens quick. But just this awareness to turn right here and to seal that's what allows Ajayi to get through. And it's just a really, really heads up play by Pouncey. I mean, he's a heck of an athlete and everything, but this is really just play recognition and awareness, mental processing,
Right. Thinking really about nice and pre-snap recognition, where could the free linebacker be coming from, where might we have to pick up, you know what I mean, if they can't reach him on the backside. It just creates, and that is just a phenomenal block. But Tunsil also, great reach there. I think it's Kyle Williams and Juwan James, and what a fill in space. I mean.
Yeah, and James makes a nice block. I mean, Tunsil did really well against Kyle Williams from what I saw in this game.
I love James' little support punch there to help Tunsil secure that 3 technique, I believe it is.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, 3 technique.
Talked about that last week. Right. Releasing to the second level, giving a little assistance on the way out.
And this is tough to square up a linebacker as athletic as Zach Brown in space. And then, I mean, really, he does everything but pancake him there. Hands inside, feet are driving, take him completely out of the picture.
Right. I mean, to work inside out there is really nice.
And great job by Ajayi. Press that block as long as you can. Maybe he cuts outside. And now you try and get that safety to overcommit to the outside, but knowing all the way you're going to cut back inside, that's only possible because Pouncey's block is so good.
Right. And Ajayi's interesting, man, because I've noticed this a lot in this game. His balance is a little questionable. I mean,
that was my big knock on him coming out of college. Sometimes he seemed like out of control a little bit.
Yeah, that happened a lot in this game. I mean, I'm not, I mean, you can knock a guy who rushed for 200 yards back-to-back games all you want, I guess, but there is clearly something going on. I mean, he just, coming out of his break, if he cuts hard, he's just a little off balance. I mean, you'll see it right here, right there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, interesting. I don't know.
Right. It's funny that he's in Miami and that he's done as well as he has, because I would not have said that zone is necessarily the best style for him all the time, because of kind of he prefers just to be straight downhill, give him a lane, tell him to hit a gap, and that was more natural for him. So that's why I've kind of been, as much as I liked Ajayi pre-draft, I was kind of like, is this the best fit for him? And these holes are pretty big, but he does do a good job. Like I said, he's doing a good job of setting up guys in the second and third levels. But yeah, his agility definitely, it's a little bit up in the air sometimes. He will lose his balance. I mean, it was the same way in college. He would lose his balance on cuts sometimes. So yeah, it's something a little bit curious, but I mean, so far it's worked for him. So.
Right. I think his vision has really stood out as a positive, to me. He's really identifying things quickly and getting through quickly, but I think his recovery once he gets through, I think it's pretty reasonable to say he could have even more yardage than he has right now if his balance was a little bit better, which is crazy to say, but
yeah.
So yeah, we're going to see a lot of zone in these clips, so it'll be we'll have opportunities to kind of see if that's a reoccurring theme or not. So yeah, we pointed out, when we watched this clip together. I mean, Pouncey, center and right tackle, Pouncey and Juwan James, they just do a heck of a job getting to 53 and 52 here and just running them out of the play. Just really showing off their athleticism and their angles at the second level, and it's pretty impressive. And then Tunsil, does a really nice job versus 91 here.
I think James was such a coveted prospect because people saw the kind of ceiling he could have in pass protection. And while he's maybe had some issues there, I still think he's a pretty solid right tackle when you look at across the league. I think a lot of teams would love to have somebody like him in pass protection. But I think he's really underrated in the run game because people looked at his athleticism for his size, or how big he was and how well he moved, I should say, rather than pure athleticism. But he just moved really well for a guy his size and power. But he was also one of the smartest and hardest working guys in that class, and you can tell the angles he takes are just really sound. I mean, it's tough to nail a linebacker in space coming diagonally like that because you're not going where they're standing. You're almost anticipating where they're going to be and then trying to cut them off. He's not going to square up Preston Brown and pancake him here. He's just going to get on his hip and ride him right past the gap where Ajayi cuts, and he'll just stay on him. And that's what you have to do, just stay on him. And he does that really well there.
It's a really nice job. I mean, a lot of people, when they're watching offensive line, they want, and I mean, it's a natural tendency. You want a guy to bury people, like Try Turner or something like that. But there's a lot of ways to win a block. I mean,
right.
And you really just need to win in the initial fight. Like Tunsil here is a perfect example because he gets this reach and he wins this block and he falls off, a little late. But I mean, that's after the running back has almost 10 yards.
Yeah. What's interesting about this block by Tunsil is that a lot of things are going on. He kind of gets his hands wide. It's a great step. He works to that play side shoulder really well. Then he kind of loses that chest position, and the defender knocks him back almost a step there. And then Tunsil does a great job of reworking his hands inside. If you just run it back a little bit there, he does a great job of kind of regaining leverage, kind of sinking his hips. He gets caught. See, he's a little bit higher. He gets pushed back a little bit, even though he reached to the play side shoulder. Pushed back a little bit. Now watch him reposition, and now he's the low man, right? And he worked that elbow free. And then he stopped his feet there for a second, I think.
Yeah.
That's just a good battle by both of those guys, but it was a good job for him to reestablish leverage because that allowed him to hold his ground and not get pushed back any further, which kind of created the hole there for Ajayi to cut through.
Right.
I think Tunsil, even at the end of that, he was like a little bit like bummed that you can see him start to react right at the end of this clip, like bummed that he fell off that block a little bit.
Right.
You can see him start to react there a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, that's not a 10, but that's probably like a 6 or a 7.
Right,
I mean, it's just a nice block.
Right, and that defender made a good play in pursuit to get him from behind there. But I mean, you win on the first level, and I think not going to in the NFL, you're not going to find a whole lot of offensive line coaches, talking poorly about your play. Take care of that first level first, and
right. So we're going to go inside zone here. This. Obviously they're in a bad position right here as far as, field position. They're on their own 3. And, this is the fourth quarter. I mean, Miami was down like this whole game. They just scored a touchdown. They were down 17-6, and now they got the ball back, and they're on their own 3-yard line. And this play right here is going to go for a good 50 yards. And watch the right guard here. I mean, we talked about this, and I talk about this a lot. I mean, when you're working a combo on inside zone, a huge part of that is if you're the guy who's released into the second level is banging hard down on that inside technique, here a shaded nose before you release to the second level to help that center out. And he's going to do a heck of a job doing that. And then he's going to climb to the second level and block his main priority. And Ajayi's just kind of play off of that. So Bushrod, man, the right guard, has really made some nice blocks the last couple games. I mean, he's kind of, kind of the guy on the offensive line that's kind of come out of nowhere, and he's done
Yeah,
pretty well.
everybody else on the Dolphins' offensive line was a first-round pick at one point, except for Bushrod. And Tomlin, the other day in his press conference, Tomlin said he was talking about Bushrod and how much he liked him, and he said he was a first-round pick. And Bushrod's like a fourth-round pick, so maybe even Tomlin thinks he plays like a first-rounder. So
Right. Yeah, he's done pretty well in the run game. But yeah, this is a really nice job by him here. Right there. I mean,
right,
he literally changes the gap. I mean, that guy's play side A, now he's backside A.
right, displacing people.
Yeah, that's a great job. And that's a really nice job to get that block. And then Ajayi, man, I mean.
Well, and these are Ajayi's biggest strengths, I think, is if you run that back just a little bit. His vision, we talked about that. Probably his most underrated strength coming out of college. I liked it, and I think even I may have underrated it. Look at him press that, and then to be able to find that's the space that he needs to get through. And it's like you said, it's a great block by Bushrod, but I think it's James here. He does, not that it's a poor job, but he kind of just gets stood up and doesn't have great control over. I believe that's Jerry Hughes there for Buffalo. So he gets stood up just a little bit, and Hughes is almost two-gapping this at that point. He's kind of like looking on either side where you're going to cut. So Ajayi presses him. Soon as he shades that way, boom, he's bouncing to the outside. And then a nice little jump cut there. Help out.
Yeah, that's good balance right there.
Right. Yeah, now he shows us up. And then the power. Right. That's the other, his vision and his power. I mean, as much as his balance kind of was an issue in space sometimes, he was just great at running through arm tackles. And here it's probably almost a little more than that. Just gets his pads low and makes a heck of a play to bounce off these two defenders.
I mean, just this job of Bushrod right here.
Right.
I mean, to extend like that and stay on the block and sustain and steer. I mean, that was just, really nice job.
Because Bushrod probably thinks, I think he thought he was going to the left of James there, and then James' block kind of worked out.
He adjusted.
Yeah, yep. he had to stay on that regard. I think he thought, this block is going to be set up. It's going to go between in that A gap there, I guess, between where Pouncey and James are right now. But because that Corbin Bryant there kind of gets some penetration in there, Ajayi sees that that's not really an option at that point, and has to change it up. That's why some of the zone stuff's so hard for offensive linemen, because Bushrod makes a great block, and it's almost his guy that makes the play.
Right.
But yeah, phenomenal job to stay on that right there. That was great stuff. Here's Jarvis Landry. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, dude, exactly.
He's chasing. I don't know if I've ever seen
him crush people, man.
He's trying to take this guy off of Ajayi's back. He's making the tackle, and he's still trying to block him. It's just hard. How do you not love Jarvis Landry, man? He's just a beast. He does all the little things. He just wants to win football games.
I mean, when you have receivers like that, dude, I don't think it's any coincidence that you have receivers like that and running games are this successful.
Right. We talked about that with Washington last week.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you have receivers that are blocking downfield, I mean, that is such an underrated part of a running game. So that was inside zone. Oops. And then we're going to go inside zone here. So this is the same drive, man. I mean, they're going 97 yards to take the lead late in the fourth quarter. I mean, this is, they're imposing their will on the Bills' defense. It's really, really unexpected and impressive. I mean, this is their backup running back.
Yeah, Damian Williams, who I have never watched Damian Williams and thought this guy belongs, as an NFL running back. I've never been impressed with him, but I mean, obviously here, he's improved a lot. He spent some time in Miami now, and it's improved a lot enough for them to make him that second string guy. Obviously, Arian Foster retiring has made a difference too, but I mean, Pouncey and Tunsil just take care of business right there.
Yeah, this is a really nice job. I mean, there's two combo blocks here,
Mm-hmm.
left guard, center, right guard, right tackle, and they're working, the down lineman to 53, and I think that's 52 on the right.
Right.
But yeah, they get really good movement at the point of attack, Tunsil and Pouncey, and then Tunsil releases right at the right time. And Pouncey, can't really overtake
Right.
sustain here, but I mean Williams makes contact here, and he 10 yards after contact, I mean that's really nice to get an extra 10 after first contact.
Oh yeah, really powerful run, and the line's still working down to the goal line.
Yeah, and that pretty much wins the game right there. I mean, a 97-yard drive, man, is like as an offensive line and just as a team, man. I mean, that's so like uplifting,
Right.
to be able to do that against a defense like this.
Right. And even James here, it's just, I mean, he sheds that combo, gets on Preston Brown enough to hold him back, and he's the backside tackle in this situation. He's all the way down the field there. And
Right.
he's the guy that really kind of pushes that pound in the end zone. I talked about him with, you could say all the things about his traits you want, but that high effort, that energy, that team first mentality, scouts love that about him coming out. And you can kind of see why as you watch him. He's a full-fledged effort guy all the time. That you don't always get that even at the NFL level. Offensive linemen don't want to get downfield. Some don't want to, target a guy down, like a safety down the field and things like that, knowing that they have to go again the next play. That's tough stuff. But James' conditioning and his work ethic, I think, just show up on opportunities like this when he's able to get down there and just kind of push this pal. And guess what? Jarvis Landry's in there too. Look at him. He's like carrying. He's carrying a Ajayi and a defender into the end zone. He's just pulling them.
Yeah. Man, that's kind of a good encapsulation of their offense right there right now
It is
and how they're playing.
It's a full team effort right now in Miami, and I give Adam Gase a ton of credit. I mean, the concepts are one thing; they've been great. The receivers getting them involved in the blocking, but also, I mean, this is like you said, it's a dictation of your will when you're doing this. In a banged up Steelers defense is one thing, especially worn down late in the game with Timmons puking and the heat. But this is a totally different story. Like Buffalo's defense has been really good, and I know they don't have Marcel Darius, but they've still been really good this year. And so to just dictate your will like this late in the game and be able to run the football when you're down and in these types of situations and have this kind of success, I mean, it's a full-fledged team unit right now in Miami, and Adam Gase has pushed all the right buttons. He deserves a lot of credit for what he's done here so far.
Yeah, he really does. I mean, Gase was, being here in Colorado and, just the things that Gase does. I mean, he really incorporates a lot of different schemes kind of in his own, I mean, we've talked about this. I know me and Dan Hatman have as far as like, and I know you've mentioned it, like, so what scheme does Gase run? And I think the best way to describe it is just multiple.
Right.
Because, I mean, he incorporates so many different concepts into it, and he's going to put his players in position, to match their skill sets and win, and he's going to ride it. And that's what's happening in Miami exactly. I mean, all this inside-outside zone matches their athletic offensive line perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And, just credit to him for putting his players in the best positions to win.
Absolutely. And yeah, you said, I mean, Miami will spread the field, they'll go 4 wide, and then you'll see them bring an extra offensive lineman onto the field, and so and have an unbalanced line a little bit. And so that's just the way they've done it this year. And Gase needed his guys healthy for sure, as most, he cut 3 of his backup offensive linemen, so that shows, what he thought of their play so far. So now that they've got that, and Ajayi's healthy and there's no concerns there, in Miami's schedule, I was just on with Matt Williamson earlier doing the Breaking the Plane podcast, and their schedule isn't brutal moving forward. So it will be interesting to see where they can kind of go from here with the rest of their schedule. They're not without issues, as a team, but just the fact they've been able to develop a signature aspect of their offense and take pressure off Tannehill. In the last 2 weeks, nobody's talked about Tannehill because they don't need to. The running game's carrying them. So if that can at least continue to be the staple, I think you give him a chance to be successful, because I don't think he's the guy who can carry your offense. But with this kind of success on the ground, it opens up a lot more options for him and a lot easier reads for him too, as defenses change what they're doing, even personnel-wise, I think, and certainly in alignment-wise, to be able to try and stop what Miami's doing on the ground.
Yeah, and Miami plays the Jets at home next week, so it'll be interesting to see what they do versus that defensive front. Especially the defensive line. If
Right.
that'll be a good test. It'll be definitely the best defensive line that they've seen. Given the injuries that Pittsburgh and Buffalo have had to deal with. So that'll be a really fun test when they play this weekend.
Right, absolutely. Fun stuff on Under the Microscope. As always, let us know what you guys think. Dolphins offensive line against the Bills defensive front, and how the Dolphins kind of really dictated the pace in this game, rushing for over 200 yards again for the second straight week in a row. Jay Ajayi up over 200. It's fun stuff happening in Miami. I'm glad we got the chance to break this group down at some point this season. A lot of people don't tend to pick teams that have been struggling a little bit and are under 500 like Miami. But I'm glad we got the chance to look at them, because even within aspects of a lot of these teams that are struggling, there's good things happening, and they deserve to be highlighted. There's good players playing well individually at the very least, and now it's leading to team success here in Miami. So that's been cool to see. So we'll see how they continue to develop and stuff. But let us know what you guys think. Let us know if you want to see anything different. Let us know if you want us to break down any other aspects of different things. Brandon and I have talked about looking at some different things moving forward, so we'll see. Maybe steer away from offensive line play here at some point and look at some other position, using the all-22 and stuff. So good stuff will be coming shortly, soon, but just appreciate you guys checking it out, and let us know what you think, and thanks so much for listening.